Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Maybe it's even good evening, depending on where you're dialing in the world. This is this Crocating software presentation on why NITRO Studio is better than Power Platform for business process automation. We'll begin that in just 1 second, but prior, we still have some people logging in, coming into the webinar, so we'll give them a few minutes. But prior to us getting formally started, wanted to indicate here in GoToWebinar that there's a question section. So along the way, typically we like to do polls. We decided not to do polls. We really wanted to open it up to questions and kind of have maybe a little more dynamic, interactive webinar today. So go ahead and post your questions there. We'll be looking at those throughout the webinar, and whether we answer them kind of in real time or towards the end, we'll make sure we address those questions along the way. We do have a few people on that will be part of our presentation. We have Scott Restivo, I'm Jeff Priest, and we have Carolyn Forrester. And so we'll be kind of going back and forth as we're talking through NITRO Studio, introducing NITRO Studio, and kind of comparing and contrasting Power Platform against NITRO Studio as well. Let's go get it. Let's give it 1 more minute, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah, I think that's good, Jeff. I see a few more people joining. We had quite a crowd, quite a lot of interest in this one. And people have, I guess, a variety of experiences with Power Platform and looking for alternatives or other options out there, which is good to see and very encouraging.
Well, there's a lot of buzz around Power Platform, and even historically, you know, with solutions like NITRO Studio, Nintex, K2, and helping to drive real sort of efficiencies and productivity through business process automation. You know, we've talked about for decades now this buzzword of digital transformation and really trying to drive through, you know, in a systematic way process improvement in an organization. And so yeah, so it's encouraging to see that, you know, people are interested in having this conversation and exploring solutions. So,
well, is there, you know, we have Carolyn's been, our account manager has been telling us quite a few number of stories she runs into with people who have chosen NITRO Studio over Power Platform and the reasons why. And I think we're ready, Carolyn, to jump into. What do you think, Jeff? Let Carolyn.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great segue right from sort of the intro. You know, again, welcome everybody, and you know, I think that's really what we want to do, kind of get in the meat of it, just hear, you know, real world experiences of what we're seeing out there and what we're hearing. So let's go ahead and introduce Carolyn to share some stories with you.
Hello, thanks Jeff, thanks Scott. Well, you know, I'm excited about this, and I see this really bold statement up on the screen, everyone. And what it's saying is, you know, I once again love my job. And there's a background story to this. There's, you know, a customer I was speaking to a few weeks back, a regional airline, and they really were explaining to me why they chose NITRO Studio over the Power Platform. And their journey began because they had, over 400 InfoPath forms to replace, you know, hundreds and hundreds of workflows. And they were on SharePoint 2019, but looking in the very near future to move to Office 365. And started really looking at modern business process automation platforms. And of course, you know, their first stop was to, you know, look into the Power Platform. They started attending conferences and classes and, you know, online forums, and they came to the conclusion pretty quickly that it was just a little bit too difficult for their team to embrace. They weren't willing to hire an outside consultant. They, you know, didn't have a lot of developers on their IT team. And so then that brought them to looking at other solutions, and those 2 other solutions that ran on a secure hybrid, environment, 2019 moving to Office 365, they narrowed their search down to Nintex and NITRO Studio. And immediately what the feedback that I received was, once they saw NITRO Studio in a demo state, and then once they were able to use it in a trial and really understand all the functionality, the comprehensiveness, their team really fell in love with it. And they also, when it came to a price tag, NITRO Studio up against Nintex, they made the decision because NITRO Studio was 10 times less expensive than what they were looking at for Nintex, but matched the same functionality. So, they've been using NITRO for the past year, replacing their 400 plus InfoPath forms, their workflows, they're building out business applications, and have migrated to Office 365. And even with that, they've decided, we're sticking with NITRO Studio because they've had so much success with business process automation and ease of use, as well as the support that they receive from Crow Canyon. So, these are the kind of the stories I hear all the time, every day. And, that's the best part of my job.
Well, that's great, Carolyn. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what really, we were able to make this bold statement about being better than Power Platform, because this is what our users tell us. This is what we found out in actual use. Of course, we believe it deeply, but it's very encouraging to have our end users telling us, and people who participate in these decision making of what platform to go with, find that to be true. Now, Carolyn pointed out a good point there, is that NITRO Studio works on SharePoint on premises, whether it's 2013, 16, 19, or the new SE version. It has a secure version for SharePoint on premises, keeping everything entirely in your farm, but also it runs very well on Office 365. Office 365, it runs in the commercial cloud, it runs in GCC, and in and in the GCC High. So we're covering all the bases we can here with NITRO Studio as the Power Platform alternative here that people are going with, because they're finding that the Power Platform requires quite a bit of it's very developer focused. People tell us they have to understand Microsoft's stack in its entirety, the full architecture, how everything fits together. It's not as simple to use, it's difficult to learn. Now, somebody who's an MVP and really embedded with Microsoft and developer minded, maybe they find a different story. But what we're finding is the people who are really down in the trenches doing the work are finding that our solution of NITRO Studio is a lot more preferable to the Power Platform. And some of that involves cost, it involves support, how much support you get out from Power Platform versus NITRO Studio and Crow Canyon support level, as well as cost, support, the ease of use, the comprehensiveness of it. NITRO Studio covers all bases. It isn't like split up like Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agent, Power, they got Power Pages now. All the stuff's all split up with different costs and different learning curves. We're going to look a little bit at the pricing of Power Platform and take a look at what comes with Office 365, what's in the standalone plans, and then talk about the uncertainty of the cost and how they can escalate, and there'll be hidden costs and extra costs of bringing in these other components that are there. So one thing I think is a great example, and give me a moment here to bring it up, is to take a look at the Microsoft, where is it? Okay, it must be on the other browser, the Microsoft pricing guide right here. Here it is, right here. So cost isn't the only factor at all, and Jeff and Karen will talk to that a little more. It's a factor, but it's not the only factor in why people go with NITRO Studio. It's just that this is the case with their licensing, and we want to people come to us and they weren't aware of like hidden costs or extra fees or uncertainty of the cost of Power Platform, and they know there's a seated version that comes with Office 365, but it's very limited. So anyway, look at this. It's a 34-page document. I don't know if anybody's plowed through it, but this is Microsoft's Power Platform pricing guide, licensing guide. Here we go, right through 34 pages of this stuff about multiplex and Power Apps, different kinds of versions of this, different kinds of that. I'm not even in the Power Automate section yet. Here's Power Apps portals, and here's you know, per login, but here's Power Automate, here's blah, 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 blah. You know, this is complex stuff to figure out. Power Virtual Agents, how's it all fit together? What's my pricing going to be? What do I need add-ons? What about Dataverse? What about this? What about that? And this is the kind of things people come to us and say, sheesh, you know, and compare that to Crow Canyon's NITRO Studio pricing. Here it is right here. Is this one page on our page? This is it. This is the total thing. It's not 34 pages. It's nice and simple. Right there, if you go, you know, you go above 500 users, give us a call. Same kind of idea that there's a graduated pricing scenario going on there. And again, it runs in Office 365, it runs in on-premises. We got you covered. And we wanted to get rid of that complexity. Now we're talking about NITRO Studio as the full enchilada right there, covering everything: forms, workflows, reports, bots, and everything else. Now you're looking at their guide and you're piecing together different parts of it: apps, automate, virtual agents, and all that. Now I want to bring it down to something here that is kind of interesting about the seated version. Now seated means that's what comes with Office 365. See if I can even find it. It's in here. I will find it, I mean, of course. But included with Office 365 license, you know, we expand that out. And you can see here that standard connectors are included, but premium are not. Only thing that's included is the thing with the dot, you know, and the dot. This is what you get with seated. Now, here's the point you want to make, you want to realize here. This comes with your Office 365, right? Okay, a limit, maybe you can do something with that, I don't know. But, you know, there's no premium connectors, no on-premises gateway, some limitations on Dataverse, no model-driven apps, on and on. And what Microsoft itself says here, in page 5 of this, customers that need the general purpose and full capabilities of the platform should license PowerOps on a standalone basis. That means go beyond the seated version of, you know, seated, what comes with Office 365. You're going, look, we've been in this business a long time. You're going to run into these limits unless you're doing something very, very small and minor little function inside of Power App. You're going to run into it, and all of a sudden you're going to start saying, well, okay, I didn't think it was going to start that way, but as it got into use, now I need to add on the standalone Power Apps capability. What is the pricing for that? Well, let's take a look. Here is, no, I don't need help, thank you. Power Apps pricing is $5 per user per app per month, $20 per user per month for unlimited apps. So you're already talking about $5 per user for one app or one portal, or $20. So and we're not even talking Power Automate here and all the cost of that. We're just talking about the one thing of Power Apps pricing right here. So then you go back and look at, you know, we're not going to belabor this too much, but if I go back and look at this slide right here and go over to the next one, we did a little price comparison and say, look, here's what you have in Power Apps with 100 users, it's 24,000, 500, 120,000, 1,000 users. How they come up with that? $20 per user per month times, you know, it's $220 times 12, 240 times 1,000, it's 240,000, right? Per year. Look at NITRO Studio pricing. It's one, you know, 6,000 compared to 24, 13 compared to 120. I mean, it's ridiculously lower. And you know, you better get in before we raise our prices, I think here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, you know, this is the pricing we go with right here. And you get the full suite, not in the comprehensive suite. You get forms, the workflows, you know, these are all comparable to Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and all that. And only that, you get our excellent support, you get our full range of capabilities. We built NITRO Studio for the purpose of building our own applications and providing out-of-the-box solutions, as well as giving users the ability to create applications with ease that are fully comprehensive. Here's one example of something. See, there's no real printing through Power Apps. I mean, you can kind of do this fudging thing with, you know, some kind of like printer script or something. We have full-fledged print manager right there in it, because we know from doing applications for so long that printing is critical. It's just one example of how we thought a lot about what needs to go into NITRO Studio, because look, we've been doing it 24 years of application development on the Microsoft environment. You think Microsoft, I don't know, maybe they lost a little touch of what's needed inside of a basic, you know, I don't know, maybe they built Power Apps primarily for Dynamics or other reasons, but it obviously is not sufficient for what is needed for business process automation. And that if it was, we would be using it to build our applications. Why would we build something completely separate? Why would a number of other vendors, Nintex and others, be doing the same thing? You know, similar idea, not exactly, but similar idea. And people who come to us who, you know, have gone through kind of the Power Apps, Power Platform, you know, they look, what'd you say, Jeff? Microsoft spent $22 billion advertising, marketing last year, you know. I mean, it's just, there's a huge amount of hype there, isn't there, Jeff?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. So I think the one reason we're sort of harping a little bit on the price point is probably the obvious, is that we come across larger enterprises, you know, small enterprises that are looking for for a solution to solve their real business problems. And let's face it, you know, one, we have this sort of economic downturn, but you know, everyone has a budget, you know, and you have a business owner that needs to meet a business need, but then you got to get approval around budget. And you know, we hear over and over again, look, you know, it's you know, to get this approved, you know, some of these other more expensive solutions just are never going to be approved. And so, you know, that means that they can never get their business problems resolved in terms of automating and driving efficiency and productivity. But, you know, for us, I think the biggest thing that, you know, that last statement, which is, you know, again, it's, you know, Microsoft's sales and marketing, look, is way beyond Power Platform. We understand that, but their marketing and sales budget is $22.16 billion this last year. So, you know, there is a lot of hype in the market, and there's a lot of excitement that's built around that hype, you know, and for us, that's exciting for us as well, because it is a competitive product, the Power Platform. It means that there's a big opportunity for us to go out and then start to share and promote the, you know, alternative solution that we feel for many companies out there is a better fit. So yeah, so that's the pricing itself is important in the sense that if, you know, look, we live in the real world, and you know, we have to make decisions on where to allocate resources, and when it comes to being fiscally responsible. And this is something for where I think that we are ahead of the game, in the fact that we don't have the massive overhead that maybe Microsoft does, or we aren't in a position to simply charge just because we can. We want to charge a fair, reasonable rate, but allow and help companies drive real business improvement using our platform.
That's right. That's right. And you know, we don't preclude the use of it. If you want to go use Power Automate for some this, that, or the other, we actually, our workflows can instantiate Power Automate workflows and things like that. So we're not saying, you know, get rid of that altogether. If you find some use for it, then good for you. But we're saying that there's an alternative. We want to say that there are other ways to go despite the hype. It's like you almost feel like, you know, like wait, you know, there's alternatives out. There's other ways to go that are people. Look at this guy here. Carolyn, you want to talk about this story here of how, you know, why we put this quote in here?
Oh, absolutely. Now, yeah, this is a very large manufacturer, and you know, they came to us because they were testing out. They were on Office 365, trying to use the out-of-the-box functionality that's provided in SharePoint, or you know, within the Power Platform. And again, they don't have a huge IT department, but what they do have is a huge need for automating business processes throughout the organization. And what they found with NITRO Studio, you know, of course, the IT team was leading this. They, you know, had vetted out NITRO Studio, decided to invest in it, and then really they were able to kind of unleash it throughout the organization and meet with other department heads and managers. And one of the first solutions that they built with NITRO Studio was a complete automated process for their quality assurance, which was huge for a company like this. And they were dealing with lots of customers and quality assurance issues, and a lot of it was done emails, phone calls, you know, text. And so one of the things that they pointed out to us is their non-technical users were able to understand, implement, and start creating with NITRO Studio. So, you know, for them, this was just a huge win, and it really accelerated the power behind Office 365 and made that, with NITRO Studio and Office 365, a truly comprehensive business process automation platform.
Yeah, and
And
that's
so,
what we love to hear there, Carolyn, when they take
right,
it, it's a true business process automation, but they've taken Office 365, whether it's SharePoint, Teams, other elements of Office 365, and now they're really getting value out of it. It's like they're on it, not just for email, not just for document management or something. They're getting true business process automation and serious level that's saving them money, improving productivity, streamlining operations. And like you were saying, Carolyn, non-technical users, low code, no code kind of style that we have. The other point is that we're here to support people. We're small enough and we're engaged closely with our customers that people, we know, it's almost like we know Jerry personally now, from because we're involved in what they're doing and we want to see it to be successful. And anybody who's tried to encounter Microsoft and, or high price consultants and everything like that, it's a whole different story. Which you
So one of the
experience.
things that I like to hear and see is that when we interact with customers is sort of this endless creativity in leveraging the platform to build things that we haven't even thought about in sort of in the course of doing business. And so it's a platform that allows extensive creativity to build any type of business process and or some automation within the organization. And or for example, an application, like we have an IT help desk guy, so it could be a number and sort of endless number of solutions that can come out of NITRO Studio in the organization.
That's exactly right, Jeff. And it's so interesting to discover what people are doing with it and find out like, oh, that's really a great use for it. I never thought about it. Everything from, we're talking about all over the world too. We have, a lot of customers, there's US, Canada, UK, expanding into Mexico a bit. We also have Australia, South Africa. We're all over the world, all over Europe, France, where else? England, Poland, Sweden, Netherlands, Switzerland, Italy. Anyway, it's like all over. It's really one of the fun parts of this job, I think, is finding how we created this NITRO Studio. And the other point is the feedback we get. How valuable is that, right? To get back feedback that says, we want this, can you do that? And we put it into NITRO Studio and it becomes a continuously improving product according to what people need. And we're doing a lot now with Teams. I'll show you in a minute. So we basically have make these statements that NITRO Studio is affordable, easy to use, comprehensive, and we provide world-class support and training. So it's affordable. We showed you some pricing earlier. We go into detail with you if you want to on that, in a one-on-one. It's easy to use. It's comprehensive, and that's an important point because it includes the forms, the workflows. It's almost like all that power stuff is already in NITRO Studio. So why, you don't have to get all these different disparate components and then have different learning curves with different pricing. And the other thing that, I don't know if I made this enough mention of this earlier, when you buy the tenant license, that's what you pay for. The tenant license, that's it. When you look at the Power Automate pricing here, for example, you're looking at, if I have it right here, and I don't need help, but there's this pricing per like flow, pay as you go. What people came to us, and this is another one of these true stories. They said, look, I need to budget what this is going to cost me. When I don't know how many flows are going to run by how many users and how often and what a flow really is and blah, 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 they're going to go like have an uncertain budget going on. With NITRO Studio, you get it for the tenant or the farm. Makes many sites, site collections, forms, workflows as you like. You know what you're going to pay for right then and there. So let's take a little bit of a look under the covers. We're not going to go into a whole NITRO Studio demo. We have a series of 3 webinars coming up in August, 11, 18, and 25, 3 Thursdays in a row. We're going to dig into the particulars of NITRO Studio. We also have numerous content online already. And more than anything else, we'd love to do one-on-one demos and talk about, no obligation, of course. It's just a conversation that informs us and informs you and helps the whole community be better able to meet the needs of business process automation, understand what your situations are, what you're running into. Is it InfoPath forms, Access forms, or you want to get off spreadsheets, or there's some new process you want to implement? So what we have a forms designer. This is one type of form that can come out. We have a forms designer. We have a visual workflow designer that you can go in and build up your workflows with an enormous number of different actions and gateways and different things. You can design your workflows really nicely. and it could be sending out emails and texts, it could be escalations, it could be assignments, it could be approvals. And again, a big part of it is accessing other databases or calling web services to make it so that your business process automation tool is part of a much larger scenario where maybe you're writing, you'll say, take a purchase order. You may have a purchase come in, it needs to be approved. It needs to go through a certain approval process depending on the cost or the type of thing being purchased. All that could be, figured out in the workflow manager. And then it could be working with teams to inform people in the Teams channel. If it's approved, eventually it could go to a purchasing department, procurement department by writing to their database. I mean, this is one example of many things that can be done: purchasing, leave request, access requests, all kinds of functions that you can just easily automate in there. In one area we're doing a lot lately that's really interesting is this whole NITRO Engage for Teams. It's our bot, and you come in and you inside of Teams, whether it's on desktop, mobile, especially on mobile, you're able to do all kinds of functionality. It's just one example. We can run you through a whole set of examples of what our NITRO Engage bot can do in terms of speeding up. And now what we're hearing, and Jeff, I think you've heard this also, it's Teams, right? I mean, that seems to be the going mantra these days, is people want to use, especially on Office 365, want to use Teams. With our program, you can make the request in Teams, approve it in Teams, get the result in Teams, right?
Well, I think, sort of in the modern sort of work environment, Teams, especially, I mean, let's face it, Microsoft sort of dominates the market in terms of, Office 365 and sort of, collaboration tools. Is that we, even here at Crow Canyon, we live in Teams. We communicate, collaborate in Teams. And so the idea of being able to perform other functions, requests, et cetera, within Teams is the preferred location for us to not have to go out to other applications, to go to other sites, is to do this right in Teams. So I think that almost probably, I would say 100% of our conversations that we have with our prospects and our customers, Teams is the preferred location for us to run these business processes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's growing and getting more and more self-service, more and more functionality in it. It's getting to be something that, we started this years ago, seeing where the market was going, but now I think it's really coming into fruition where people are starting to say, okay, we're ready, especially after all the, Teams work that went on during COVID and all that. And then now people are, okay, we got Teams, we're going to use it. How do we use it to really provide self-service? And it's all about streamlining business process, streamlining operations. Here's the thing: if you go back to the Microsoft guide of virtual assistants and all that, how much are you going to pay? I don't know, all this money for special virtual agents and virtual assistants and all that. All this is included with NITRO Studio, at least in the Office 365 version. On premises, there's no bots, but of course, there's no Teams, so there's no Teams engagement. But in NITRO Studio for Office 365, where they're in the commercial, the GCC or the GCC High, we have these bots that are available for you to use that if you want. So we get the full range. We call omnichannel support. You can have email, you can have users using email and text, you can have users using SharePoint forms. We have portals available, but also this Engage for Teams is starting to come more and more into prominence as people realize they can use it wherever they are, mobile devices or whatever. Just have Teams, make a purchase request, approve a purchase request, a leave request, access request. What are some of the other things? I mean, I'm thinking of all these. There's so many things you can do. And manage assets and equipment. You can, any kind of request. There's so much you can do.
So Scott, one of the things that we talk about, you guys can see here on the screen, we call this NITRO Engage, and he said, well, really, it's our bot. The truth is the adoption of bots in the marketplace, is happening, but it's happening at a slow pace because, quite frankly, not all bots are designed in a way that's effective. And so, this NITRO Engage, really the concept behind that is, how do we best engage our customers, internal, customers? And so the engagement of it, first of all, is to remove bots, let's call it semantics, but we remove this idea of bots is really about how do we program, sort of programmatically, automate this in such a way that's effective, that actually encourages our end users to use the system. And so it's highly configurable and usable across the organization. I always say, look, it's the technology in itself is something, but really it's about where can you apply that, where can you use that in the right way. And so we have sort of extensive experience as well as feedback from our customers that we share with our other customers in sort of best practices and best ways to do that. So I think that it's, as we move on, there's that's just another way to automate, sort of transactional interaction to free up resources to do other more important work.
Yeah, as you can see here, Jeff, I'm planning a vacation in September. Not really, but I'm doing it right through the bot. I just submit it. It's going to go to whoever the manager is, and that manager, he or she, will have the opportunity to make a decision, approve or disapprove. Most likely approve it, and then go into the into the personnel. It could write to a team. So it could do all kinds of stuff. It's been submitted. Your manager's been notified. Just showing it in live action here. I don't want to go into this too much, but it's really cool stuff. That you can do it, and like you say, Jeff, we're starting to see a lot of uptake on this. This is I'm glad to see it, because we put a lot of legwork in getting this going, and finally it's people are starting. We're connecting with where the market is right now, and I knew we want to be ready when we're ready. When the market is ready, we want to be ready. So if I was in the manager's bot right now, or Engage, it's a he actually, James would get the message that this approval and could approve it, and then I get a message back, and it's all written to the back end SharePoint and all that. I mean, these are just one example. I'm not trying to sell a lead request program here. I'm just trying to show you the possibilities with NITRO Studio on it. And this is meant to be a little bit of teaser. We don't want this webinar to go like a whole hour. We're just going to try to keep it to 30 or 40 minutes, or maybe another 5-10 minutes, depending on questions and things. So what we want to do is encourage you to go to our webinars, or engage with us one-on-one, where we go in depth into NITRO Studio and really kick the tires, make sure it's right. But before we go there, we're going to talk about our support. Now, our support is, we put a lot of heart, a lot of energy, a lot of care into customer support. It's just one of the things, when you're a small company, you have to try harder. I don't know if you remember those bumper stickers says, "We try harder," or something. Avis used to have it, "We try harder," because they were number 2 to Hertz, I guess, or something like that. So we try harder. And then some wise guy cement factory put out a bumper sticker, "We dry harder." Anyway, it was kind of funny. But the point is, like, we have chat, we have email, we have, of course, we use our own, dog food here. We have our own ticketing system using all this is pretty much set up in NITRO Studio. We have a forum, we have a help site, we have dedicated account manager. Carolyn's one of them. We have tutorials, manuals, documentation. Training is a big thing too. That's one of the big difference between us and them, is that we're strongly committed to our customer success, not just in words, in actually actions in doing it. And you find us, available 24/7, answering questions in the forum, or support tickets, or, it's such a great product. It's not that we get that many, but people do have questions,
So Scott, one of the things I want to jump in on here is this, when you're looking at, as consumers, right, of products and services out there in the marketplace, I think the true differentiator today, in this day and age, is support. Customers. I spent the last couple decades in customer experience, and I can tell you that someone can build a fantastic product, high quality, a lot of value, but they fail on the support side. Unfortunately, then it doesn't make that product as useful as it could or should be. And so I think for us, what we've done is taken this sort of holistic approach to the business, saying, look, put the customer first, always put the customer first. So we've created, customer success programs internally. We've invested in being able to assign every account a dedicated account manager, like Carolyn, for example, that is a single point of contact. We are a smaller organization, so we can be more intimate. But I think that and that's kind of a pitch that a lot of small companies use out there. But the reality is, it is true that we can be more intimate with our customers. Our support team, and I think, Carolyn, you would agree that the common feedback we get from our customers is that our support team is highly responsive, not only are they experts in our solutions as well as SharePoint Office 365, but they know how to solve problems and solve problems quickly. I think another piece of feedback we get, in fact, I was on a phone call with a client not too long ago that says, it's so encouraging to see that when I provide feedback or suggestions, or they have issues that pop up in the next release, they see that their suggestions were included as updates to our product. And so I think there's really good, strong connection and interactivity between and collaboration with our clients, not to mention our clients with each other through our community in which they are sharing and they're helping each other as well. So I think that that is the true differentiator. I mean, look, Microsoft, fantastic company. We are, of course, this is the provocative statement that we're better. We love Microsoft. It's one of those things that we built a solution that runs on their platform. But when you're a large organization, you call up and you're number 20 or 30 in queue, or you're 45 minutes out, or you need to receive a phone call back. That's an experience, and we want to provide a better experience. So that's incredibly important for us to make sure that not only are we building great products, but that we have world-class service.
That's absolutely right. And we've been around since 1999. That's what, 23, 24 years now. And there's a reason for that. And we have customers who've been with us over decades, at least 15 years, some people. And we are, there's a reason they stick with it. It's stick with us. We've been around. We're established. We're known in that realm. I mean, maybe some of the people on the webinar, it's like, who's Croquet, never heard of them, but it's one of those quiet companies that's been persistently doing what it's doing. We've been doing what we've been doing for years, and had a great success at it. So hopefully you can join in on that with us. So there was a question about cost, but I'm going to go into this part where we want to say about these upcoming webinars. There's a page. Let me get the page up on our website that is here, that I can show that it's right here about this. Okay, it's just basically go under resources, webinars, and then there's this Better Than Power Platforms. We have these upcoming webinars, and we have these three things we're going to do. One is about the users, really forms, portals, and bots. About the workflows, and that's about our NITRO workflows and custom actions and how they all integrate. And then how we're going to emphasize a webinar on the Teams integration. That's August 11, 18, and 25 going on there. And that's a series. You can sign up for one or all three, depending on, and of course we have, just like this one, we'll have a recording available that is given out, sent out, and also posted on YouTube, so that you can see, like here we have these recent webinars. You can look at it. Now, one thing we should point out also is that we build products on top of our NITRO Studio ourselves. We do have an IT help desk ready to go, asset management. We have project management, work order management, equipment tracking. All these run on top of our NITRO Studio. Purchasing, contract, request management. They run on top of NITRO Studio, and they are customizable within that site to say you want to do something a little different with that help desk, or it's a different kind of request management system. It's kind of like request manager is kind of like almost a pre-built template in some ways that you can take and run with once you get the NITRO Studio. You can get NITRO Studio by itself. Pricing is right here. If you will have over 500 users, or or if you're on the GCC High, talk to us. It's a little different, but basically, we'll talk to you about pricing. 400 a month to start, 550 users, and then it goes up, and we'll help you figure that out if needed to be, because it's just a matter of doing some addition of how many users you have and how many, what level you're at, and on that. So it's no problem there. Not a 34-page complex guide with all gotchas this and gotchas that going on there. We also have workshops that
real quick. So what I want to do too, just in the interest of time.
Yeah, we're almost at the end.
We really wanted to keep this concise and to the point, rather than trying to talk through a full hour. But as we're wrapping things up, I think the intention of this webinar for us was to really introduce NITRO Studio to anyone out there that was considering Power Platform, doing some due diligence, and trying to figure out what other alternative solutions might exist in the marketplace. And as we haven't gotten deep into any demo to show all the details of the features and functionality and how it works, we've created specifically for the month of August a series of webinars to do that. So we'd love to invite you to go and visit. Either go to our website. I think that we might even have the ability to reach out to you. Carolyn would know better than I to reach out to you and send you invites to those. But I think,
absolutely.
yeah, and I think the intention now is really to open up that door to build interest and have you explore with us NITRO Studio further. Now, in addition to the webinars, we love to give demos, on an individual one-on-one basis, so we can get deeper into your specific business requirements and objectives. You might have certain sort of use cases or stories that you want to share with us that we can address in those demos. So please feel free to reach out to us. We love to kind of get engaged on that level, which I think adds a lot more value sometimes to the conversation. But we really appreciate your attendance. And Scott and Carolyn, thank you both to in contributing to this webinar. And we hope that we hear from you in the near future.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. That's absolutely right. Thank you, Carolyn. And most important, thank you everyone for attending. And we hope to hear from you. We'll send out a link to the recording, a follow-up, and hope to see you at the August webinars. If not for a one-on-one demo, anytime you want to set that up with us, we'll be glad to do that. Okay, thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, Carolyn. Jeff, okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye for now.